Imagine an ancient world, torn apart by primal powers, where magic runs through all living things and erupts from the minds of the power magi, where humans, elves, dwarves, and orcs walk the same earth, where ancient gods fight side by side with mortals in an endless battle between order and chaos. This is the world of bustling towns, long-lost tombs, yawning chasms, dangerous wilderness, and ancient treasures. This is Heroes Against Darkness.
City and DG lead the way. New RPG systems every day. Dice roll, quick adventure calls. Walking through tabletops, golden halls. Masters of pen and paper. RPGs of every flavor. Talking about different creators. The choice of games is never greater. Come with us to games they run through. New, old, and interesting. Thank you all for listening.
Welcome in, everybody. Episode 11 of Masters of Pen and Paper. My name is Mike. This is
Finny, right here.
Welcome in, everybody. Today we were talking about an interesting game. I had never heard of this one before, but this one is Heroes Against Darkness, which is a very interesting game. It's interesting to me because it's completely free, 100% free.
Yeah,
you just get it.
Free. Yeah, you can just go pick it up.
You just head on over to drivethrurpg.com and you pump in Heroes Against Darkness and free game, just like that.
Yeah. This is probably one of the first off D&D ones I ever picked up.
Oh, interesting. This was this was the beginning of the show.
This was the beginning of my problem.
The addiction.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, since this is kind of your baby, why don't you because this one feels like almost obscure in a way, right? Like I literally had never heard of this game before.
It's very little and not very well known because and actually the author of this one, Justin Halliday, I had a really tough time trying to track down what this guy actually did.
Okay.
Because there's no wiki post about him. There's
right.
I found an IMBD post on him.
Okay.
Of all things. And he was a video game director, producer, writer, editor.
Oh, he did
and
all of
art
it.
Designer. Like he did all
the things.
Yeah, for certain little games from the mid 90s to the mid 2000s.
Okay. Super Nintendo to the PS2.
Yeah, that's that works out, right? Yeah, something like that.
Around there.
Yeah. I believe one of his biggest ones was like above or Heroes Above the Pacific or something like that.
Okay.
It's like a top-down shooter.
Interesting.
It was interesting, yeah. After he exited from the video game scene, he went on to he became a investment manager of all things.
He went
by
corporate.
Day. Yeah,
Uh-oh.
and then he designs games by night. So
interesting.
He's
quite a combo.
Yeah, exactly. Very interesting. So in 2012, he published Heroes Against Darkness under the here it comes, the Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derives 3.0 Unported license.
Dun,
now,
dun, dun.
Basically,
the
that
OGL.
says...
Here we are.
Yeah.
Basically.
It basically says that you're welcome to take this, play it for free, do whatever you want with it, as long as you say, this guy made it.
Right. Yeah. You can create your own stuff within the game, but it has to be credited to the actual creator.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And likely you can't sell it. You probably can't make stuff and then sell it.
No. But you can email him and maybe he'll say sure.
That is something that I thought that was really cool about this. Like in the book, literally it says, hey, if you have feedback, here's my personal Gmail account, justinhalliday@gmail.com. And send me an email, right? Like he literally wants your feedback, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. He just kind of flings the doors open. He's like, yeah, send me email. I'm just a dude.
He's just a dude.
Yep.
He did make, and I'm probably gonna pick it up because he made Hero Kids, I believe it's called.
Oh yeah, I've heard of this.
And it's like baby's first RPG
D&D for families,
for
family
10-year-olds,
edition,
right?
Yeah.
It's very cool. I kind of dipped into it through my research here. And
I want to say I might have a copy of that. I might have picked that up.
Oh,
Somebody
shoot.
sent me a link to that. I might have that somewhere in my pile.
Well, there you go. Yeah, and that's about all I could find on the guy.
Yeah, I mean, so you were saying here that he built this game as like an homage to Dungeons and Dragons. It wasn't intended to be a like competition to it, but that he wanted to add his own flavor. He had some changes. He wanted to make it balanced, kind of down the middle a little bit.
He felt like he was doing a rebalancing pass on it, basically.
Yeah, it's like if I was to be in charge of Dungeons and Dragons, these are the things that I would change, and then that's what he's kind of come up with.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, it makes sense. As you kind of flip through the book, you can see that inspiration in there, right? The whole thing is 231 pages. Let's just jump right on into it, Finn. Let's jump into the whole thing.
Let's hit the nuts and bolts.
Let the wheels hit the pavement. So the whole book is 231 pages, 2 columns, right? So your standard run-of-the-mill Dungeons and Dragons book. Not a huge time investment. So I mean, if you're looking for the way that this breaks down, it's all, by the way, all encompassed within one book. So
one single book.
Yeah, you've got the player's guide sitting at about 102 pages, the GM's at about 50. The Beasts and Bastards, or this version's monster manual, at about 50 pages as well. And then you've got like appendices and other stuff that makes up the last 20 pages. So the 231 total pages split up pretty evenly, 100 and 100 for players and GMs. We're talking about a standard D20 system, right?
It is your same old classic D20 with a rollover system.
Roll the
beat.
D20, add your modifiers, and beat the target number. This is the part that I thought was really cool, is that this game essentially takes basic and advanced Dungeons and Dragons, a little dash of 3rd edition, and then a good-sized helping of 4th edition, and smashes it all together to create this game.
Yeah.
It's like a big culmination of different pieces of Dungeons and Dragons.
There's a lot going on here, but also in a short amount of time.
Yeah, that's true.
It's very concise and to the point.
Yeah, they cut out a lot of fluff here, right? Like, I mean, it seems like the intention is to be streamlined and punchy. Get to the point. Let's go.
Yeah.
Right.
Sit down and play. Yeah.
Not a whole lot of kicking back there. So
we're back into the fantasy genre, right? You got your axe wielding barbarian and
the barbarian,
your magic staff man, and
and the broad showed.
So we got 11 character classes.
Yep.
We've got a warrior, barbarian, berserker. These are all the melee classes. We got a hunter, a rogue, and they're kind of a ranged
your
specialty.
Your pew-pews.
Yeah. You got a hospiter, which is
that one
kind
was
of a hybrid class between a healer and a melee. It's like a paladin would be or so.
Right.
Then you have a warlock, a healer, a Canaanite, and a necromancer, and a mystic.
Your wizard.
Your magic man.
Your wizard.
Of note, there are 6 optional multi-classes as well that are in the book.
Yep.
So you got a paladin, a warlord, a death knight, swordmaster, blackguard, and a warden. Now, I didn't get into detail with these. They're basically what you think they are. They're basically magic sword wielders, mostly.
And they're not really in depth in the book like the other classes are.
No.
So I don't know if there was...
all it says is...
like coming soon or something. Like you take these and you smash them together.
I think you take certain powers from this class and certain powers from this class. And
so it was a little wibbly wobbly on that part, I thought, but all in all, I mean, it's cool that it's included as part of like the kit. I mean, 11 classes and then the 8 races, like there's some good combos that you can make out in that
exactly
kit.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So 8 races. We have human, dwarf, elf, half orc, a Tartarian, which is a demon person.
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
Tiefling flavored.
OGL is
maybe they just didn't want to go full tiefling. This was like their version of it.
Yeah. And then we have drow and orc.
See, I liked that there's a full orc. I liked that because almost always like D&D will give you the half orc, but they never give you the full-fledged orc. And then obviously
until Volo puts his book out.
Right, yeah. And I mean, and like when you have the Berserker class in there, that's just like peanut butter and jelly, baby.
It's gotta be a Berserker orc.
Right? Like it's just I feel like that just lines up. I mean, you could go the route of like the mystic orc and be like the smart wizard orc.
The shaman.
but yeah, I liked that it was a full. There is a half orc, but I liked that there was a full-fledged orc.
Yeah.
Anybody that's familiar with anyone who's familiar with 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons, you're gonna really feel at home here, because there is a whole lot of 4th edition stitched throughout the game in the form of like the hero powers, and essentially the whole action economy uses like the card style play. So each class has their own kit of cards that they learn throughout the levels as they level up, and you get all of these powers to use throughout the thing. So if you're 4th edition friendly, you're gonna really feel at home in this game. It's gonna feel good to you.
That's good.
I'm not saying that as a bad thing too, by the way. I think I need to kind of really emphasize that. That's not a knock.
4th edition was not bad.
Right? Like it was just different, right? And I liked the card system. I don't think it was done correctly, but I like the idea of each class having all of these powers, right? So that your warrior's not just making attacks. Your warrior has different types of attacks. You can make a cleave. You can make like a bleeding attack. You can do this. You can do that.
Yeah.
It helps you kind of just like mix it up a little bit. And I thought that was really cool. So that is in the game, which was really nice to see.
Yeah. So back to these races. Each of these races grant you ability score increases. There are no decreases in the ability scores.
No, all positive.
Yeah, all positives. And they influence your starting language, because the human only knows common or whatever middle common, whatever it is.
We're going to call it common.
Everybody else learns one on like their own language as well. And then you also get your special abilities such as low light vision, or infrared vision, or, whatever it happens to be, but humans get none because humans suck.
Humans are boring.
Yeah, humans are boring.
Humans are boring and OP. No.
Yeah. We're back to the regular crowd of ability scores. We got strength, dex, whiz, con, int, and charisma. Wisdom, though, there's a little change here. Wisdom is only for magic.
That's right.
It does not influence your perception or anything else. It's specifically for
your anima points.
Magic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, which I thought that was an interesting change. And I don't know if I could get used to that, because I would constantly feel like I need to keep my int up as a magic user. Like I get it, but it's a peculiar change. It makes you wonder why they wanted to change it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm wondering if it's a step away from the OGL.
It makes sense to make it your own thing. Right? Yeah, but
and your intelligence is related to a person's perception and additional languages. That
learning
learn,
things
like
and etc. Yeah.
As far as I could tell, these are the only differences from your standard D&D array of abilities.
Yeah, and we're taking a lot of liberties here in assuming that you, the listener, are pretty familiar with the Dungeons and Dragons kit, because as we kind of go through the next stuff here, there's it's kind of the same thing, right? Like there might be some slight flavoring on it, but there's really not a whole lot of difference here. The differences typically come in the form of reducing fluff and making things easier to pick up and go. That's kind of most of the changes have been designed that way.
And if this is your first podcast with us, please go back to the
you're gonna want to check out
D&D.
Check out the D&D episode before you kind of continue on here, because I mean that's it. We're not going to go into the details of it, but just so you know, I mean the vast majority of this game is like, if it's Dungeons and Dragons at 100%, this one's at 95 kind of thing. Like there's some small changes, but not nearly enough to say it's that far off.
It's a D&D clone.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
And we'll probably end up covering a lot of them. And we'll be referencing D&D, comparing back and forth with it. Because that's, how can you not?
It makes the most sense because the majority of people would be the most familiar with it, right?
Yes.
So it makes sense.
Okay. So
character creation time.
Let's do character creation, because we like doing characters. We make characters in this.
Love it.
Yeah.
Not as much fun. This system, not as much fun as Traveler's creation system.
No.
Everything, like Traveler and Dungeon Crawl Classics have set the bar for character creation for me.
Hold on. That bar is like sky.
It's sky high. No, I know. I realize that. But I have to say, like, it changes the way I look at character creation now because of that.
Doesn't it?
But this one you're running your normal run of the mill. Walk through the book. That's kind of how it is, right?
Yeah. So first off, we choose our class. Mm-hmm. One of the 11 plus 6 optionals. You choose a race.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Orc Berserker. That's where we're going, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Orc Berserker.
His name is Grug.
Always make Krog the Orc Berserker.
That's right. 100%. With a battle
party full of Krogs. Next up, we roll or assign ability points.
Yep.
Ability scores. And that's GM's choice here.
Yeah.
If it's 3d6 or 4d6 drop 1 or points array or, your standard, 15, 13, 12,
I like
10,
the way
10, 9.
I like the way he broke it out in the book, because he gave like here's what you should expect for a total count on average per way, right? And it is the same style of running points, rolling 4d6, 3d6, etc., like you just said.
Yeah.
I like that there was a line item after each one of those versions that basically said, if you do it this way, expect your characters to have this many points. Expect your characters to have this many points on average. And I thought that was really cool. That was nice information to have as a GM.
Yeah, so that you know if you're rolling low or not.
And that's stitched throughout the whole book, right? You can tell that he wrote this from a perspective of wanting to give you the information without having to look it up. That's kind of the intention. Right?
And not burdening you with information that you don't need right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
As you read through the book, every new section has rule box, and it lists the certain amount of rules that pertain to this section specifically, like attacks or defenses. They each all have their own separate little box that says this is rule number 1 of attacks or defenses. Next up, we work out our ability bonuses.
Yes.
So it's the same spread. 10, 11 is a 0 bonus. 20 is a +5 bonus. Anything below 10 is dipping into the negatives. You can go down as low as -4 or 3 or something like that. No, -5. It'll be -5, +5.
Yeah.
After that, we work out our HP.
Yep. Constitution,
so
baby.
Level 1, it is the Constitution score, not your modifier.
Not the modifier, which is an interesting decision. I like that because I mean, the 5e has you with a default number, so 8 plus your Constitution mod. And then your hit die plus your Constitution modifier plus your proficiency bonus
from
or
there
something
out.
like that.
Yeah.
It's cool. I like it.
So this is con score plus your class HP, and each class has a different hit dice, which basically, right?
Mm-hmm,
Is what we're working off of. And then as you level up, it is your con mod, the mod, like the ability modifier.
So we're back to the modifier.
Back to the modifier plus your class HP per level up. And there's no rolling. There's no rolling in this for
So
HP,
you just get a set number of HP.
You just get a set number every time you level up.
You know, I'm okay with that too, because it's essentially maxing out your HP at that point, right?
Yeah. It would balance out a lot of stuff, I feel.
Because I find for people who are rolling challenged like myself, that would really help out with the nickel and diming of HP that I typically lose as I'm leveling my character up. So
yeah, I get that too. I'm a terrible HP roller.
I'm so bad at it.
Next up, we do our anima points. Now, anima points are your magic pool of magic.
These are your spell slots, basically, but they're not slots.
Yes and no. It's more of an MP pool,
which is
off of your video game.
Which is this is the 4th edition stuff that's coming into it, right? Because you use these anima points to cast the spells that are within your pool of spells that you have.
Then that are up to your level and down.
Yeah.
So you can choose anything from what level you are down below you, and you can cast as many as you want
until you run out of points.
You have the points. Yeah. So this is 5 plus your wisdom modifier. So not much. But
no, but it's balanced. It is for what it is.
You can't spend more than your level plus 1 points per round, which is a nice little tether to hold you back from spending it all from
spamming every single point in one shot, kind of thing.
Because there are certain spells in there that say you need to spend 1 plus X amount of anima points. So instead of being able to be like, oh, well, I have 20 anima points at level 2, I'm going to just, dump 20 into that and do this really cool, powerful spell.
Yes.
Well, you can't because hold on there, Chuck.
Hold on. Nice shooting, Tex. Put them away. No, everything's kind of designed, like I said, it feels, so that's the other thing I was going to mention too, is that it really feels like it's got the kid gloves on sometimes. Where,
a little bit,
it's not like it's restrictive, but it's designed in a way that you got the bumpers up while you're bowling kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to have a fun time because we're going to make sure that you're not going to have a bad time.
Yeah, exactly. It's more kid friendly than 5e.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that makes total sense. But I mean, in the sense that it, like, at least this way you can get a pretty quick grip on how that goes.
So after anima points, we are on to initiative bonus, and this is your dex bonus plus, which is your dex bonus, which is your dex mod plus 1/2 of your level rounded down.
And they do give you a chart for the half levels.
There is a chart for that.
So don't worry about the math if you're math challenged.
If you're math challenged, don't worry. There are tables.
There's tables in there. You'll be all right. But this one I thought was interesting. I didn't really like the concept all that much. I get it, but I would prefer that they just went with your dex bonus. Called it a done deal, right? Like, if everybody's on dex bonus, there's no need to, or sorry, not dex bonus, your dex mod. There's no need to do the half level rounded down thing. Like, I get it, but there's no need for it. It's just inflated for no real reason.
I thought it was pretty wordy and busy to be doing, but I mean,
you gotta have your own flavor. I get it.
That's right.
Sure.
After our initiative, we do our movement speed.
Yep.
Which is 5 plus your dex mod.
Which is weird that it's not contained to the race or to the race. Weird. Yeah. I mean, like the dwarf and the orc move at the same speed technically.
They can if their dexes are the same.
You know what I mean? Like it's just an interesting choice. It's not a bad choice, but it's just interesting.
It is interesting. And armor does affect your movement. So if you're wearing heavy plate armor, it does restrict your movement down a certain amount of feet. That's one of the things that I think it balances out
Yeah.
there.
Oh yeah. No, I mean at the end of the day, it's not like it's that big of a deal. You're not going to have that far of a spread. But it was just interesting to see that the movement is actually something that you kind of calculate, right? Like it's I get it. It makes sense, but it's just weird. It feels like something that you shouldn't have to calculate. It just feels like it's something you should just be writing down from whatever. Oh, I picked dwarf. It's 25 feet, and you move on. You know what I mean?
It's already simple. Sounds like you've never played a monk in 5e.
That's why I'm saying it, because I am playing a monk and it's complicated. Forget it. Just give me the number, man.
So
too funny.
After movement, we work out our attacks. And your attacks
this is the 4th
melee,
edition stuff.
Strength bonus plus miscellaneous addings with your weapons and whatnots. Ranged is your dex bonus. Magic plus miscellaneous. Magic is your wisdom bonus plus miscellaneous.
Basic.
Added pluses or minuses. Then we do defenses. So we have 4 defenses in this. We have your AC, which is your typical body armor. You have your evasion, which is for dodging. I believe it says specifically explosions.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like jumping, like action shots, like
action shots. Yeah, exactly. Then we have magic defense.
Yeah,
which is your ability to defend against magic. And then you have resilience. And as far as I could tell, resilience was only good for poison.
This is just so complicated.
It is.
Why? Just why? Like, why give me 4 defenses? Because now you've increased the amount of work that GM has to do, right? You've increased the amount of work that the players got to work through, and everybody knows you're probably just going to default down to AC anyways. So just get rid of it.
Because this is your game, and you can play it.
You play it however you want.
Yeah.
Your fun is valid and all the things, but
you can pick and drop what you feel like.
I don't know. I gotta say, like, as soon as I got to that point, I was like, what? Really? Like, we're gonna calculate that. So since it's a magic attack, so it's magic defense, but you gotta dodge the explosion. Oh, so it's evasion. Right, but it's fire that you're dodging. Like, it's, it's complicated. There's no need to go this route.
You're dodging poison splash. Now what?
Yeah, like, I mean, like, I get it. Hey, you know what? You wanted to do armor and magic defense. I'm okay with that, because is it a melee attack or is it a magic attack? But to tack in evasion and resilience here, it's too much. That's too much. I did not like this. And I gotta say, this is probably the first time in one of these games where I've just adamantly said, you know what? I don't like this. This is a bad idea. So that's unfortunate. When we did Dragonbane, there was a few things in that game where I kind of was left scratching my head, but I was like, okay, that's fine. It is what it is. This one here, I'm like, I hate that. I don't like that. It is
quite complicated.
Yeah. For something that's trying to make the game simple, why complicate here of all things? I don't know. It's one of those things where we should send him an email.
You should send him an email. Ask him.
I wouldn't do that for a free game. No, you know what? It's free. It is what it is. But I am genuinely curious why the sticking point on the defense is. It was an interesting choice.
I would play first time through, rules as written.
It would,
see how it works.
See how it, and
if it's clunky, it's gone.
See how to get rid of it. Yep.
Yeah.
I think I would run AC and magic defense and call it a done deal. Poison's part of magic defense. Evasion's part of AC. We're done. Moving on.
Yeah.
Next, wrap it up. You know what I mean? Like, there's no need, but it is.
So after we work out our defenses, we buy equipment. Equipment quality is an interesting thing.
Quality is a thing in this game.
Yeah. So the more you buy, the better it is. The more you pay, the better it is. The better it is, the better it protects you or does damage to other things.
Yep.
I was looking at the magic item, just the regular magic items, and they go up to like a +5 long sword or something like that. That's crazy.
They're powerful.
And the defense, like the plate armor, the really good plate armor is like +7. And +3 to all other defenses, including your AC, so that it's actually plus 10.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. For anyone that's got the book, your page 40 is where the equipment quality is at. And I liked too that it had shoddy quality. So it had plus quality, but it actually had negative quality too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So
did.
you could work in wear and tear on your weapons and armor into this game pretty easily using the system where you haven't been to town, so your sword hasn't been sharpened and hasn't been properly taken care of. So you're actually taking a -1 now on that. Or, the goblins have rusty chainmail and stuff. Yeah, you could grab it, but it's all shoddy equipment. It's pieced together and it's worth significantly less. And that was the other thing that's in that table, is it showed you what it was worth as well. A multiplication of, like, if you find this equipment in this quality, it's worth this much. Which, that was really cool. I liked that a lot.
Yeah, I liked that too. It would make for a good... I could see how it could get old real fast.
Oh yeah.
Like,
there's a lot of...
Some of our campaigns, we don't make it to town very often. And Lord knows if my +3 longsword started wearing down, oh boy, we're gonna have a tough time.
But I mean, I think if you're gonna implement that into your game, it's very easy to tell your players, hey, weapon quality is going to be a thing. You're going to need to take care of your stuff. Make sure you don't leave town without a whetstone and oil.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because you got to care for your stuff. If you take a rest without taking care of your stuff, it's going to rust. You're going to have a problem.
Yeah. Someone should know leather working. Someone should know armor making.
That's right. Yeah. Repair.
We are doing a full RP on this, guys.
Let's
right. Go.
Yeah. I like the concept of it. I mean, it would bog the game down. So I don't know how it would work in the game, but the concept of it, I thought was really cool. It was neat. It was neat to see.
So after that, we develop our character backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say this feels optional to me, but is recommended.
Yeah. Page 16 in the book, if you're looking for it. There's a lot of stuff here. And some cool things, honestly. Like,
there is some very cool things.
Tables to roll on and all sorts of stuff, right?
But from what I looked at and from what I could figure out, it wasn't very impactful to your character.
All flavor. All flavor. This is backstory stuff.
So if you are trying to hack out a character on the fly,
if you're min-maxing, this isn't going to help you.
Yeah, it does not need to happen. But I would recommend it to be able to play a character much better.
This is going to help you kind of create the concept for your character, and when you're role-playing, how they're going to play out, right?
How they're going to feel.
Yeah, it's not backgrounds like it is in 5th edition where it comes with like a bonus and stuff like that. This is 100% the building of your character's backstory.
Yeah. So after that, we are done making a character. You take all that info and put it on your character sheet, and hopefully you don't die too quickly and have to rip it up.
That's right. They included in the book a link to printable character sheets, but the book also has a digital version that you could
has one
copy
at the very
out
end
and
of it.
create and do your things. So, very cool. I like it.
Speaking of characters dying,
making new characters,
characters start dying at -1 HP, not at 0. At 0, you are considered unconscious.
You're knocked out.
You cannot move, you cannot do any reactions, you cannot do anything, but you can still take damage. So if something were to do an area of effect damage, that damage does get added to you.
Right.
Now, I will say, there is no single attack that can take you below -5.
Right.
Sorry. At -10, that character dead.
No, you're
not coming back.
Yep. Yeah. No half HP.
Burn your character sheet. Done.
Yeah.
All it takes is another character to come along and stabilize you. And stabilizing is a major action. We'll get into actions in a minute.
Yep.
And that is all that's required. Now, stabilizing does not bring them back up. They need another source of healing to bring them up above.
You're just stitching the wound closed. That's it.
You're patting him full of gauze and wrapping it and continuing fighting.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. That's a cool system, but that's also right out of 4th edition as well.
And then, a dying character loses 1 HP per round.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean that's your tick down to
That's your timer.
10.
Yeah.
But I mean honestly, if you can't get to a character in 10 rounds, come on.
I'm
come on.
Unless something's throwing
if something's
fireballs.
pummeling or standing there punching, right? I mean that depends
Yeah.
on the DM. I typically when a character goes down, unless it is 100% within the story of that evil character, right?
Yeah.
Typically, when a PC goes down, the
You let 'em
monsters
be.
leave it alone.
Yeah.
Typically, right? Because they go after the active threats, not the inactive threats.
That's right.
So
Unless they are trying to be
and so that's I've played very few monsters that have ever punched somebody while they were downed.
Yeah. But when you do, boy, the other characters really
Everyone
not
gets
like
really
that.
mad. I mean, there's no better way to make your big bad evil guy big, bad, and evil than to do that kind of thing. So, but
curb stomping someone sits down.
When I read through the dying rules, I was like, I don't think characters are dying a lot in this game. It
doesn't feel like it. No,
the stakes don't feel too high in this regard. So
I didn't do a really, really deep look into some of the monster abilities and like boss abilities or the magic spells. I don't know if there's if most of them are multiple target or if they're mostly single target. I feel like they're mostly single target.
But it would be no different than any other D&D game, right?
Yeah. You'll have multiples of either or.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, oftentimes, I know in 4th edition there was a lot of their powers, it would be multiples.
Yeah.
Right? So I just scrolled down here. I see a great ape, pummeling swing, 2 adjacent targets in melee range. Ape, silverback, rampage, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of multiples in here.
But that stuff would also target dying creatures.
Correct. And that's what I'm saying is that if something was in range, then
if something was in range,
you're going to get tapped on that one. So
yeah. So that could happen. I mean,
it's a thing.
All that would take is for me it would be a quick skill check to just drag them an extra 5 feet away and stabilize.
Get them out of harm's way.
Yeah.
Stabilize, move on. Yep.
Speaking of moving on, advancement. We're based on XP. So
yeah.
It's pretty simple. It's calculated out per encounter that every 8 to 10 encounters or so per level, you gain a level.
It was funny reading about this in the GM side because it was here's the math when to level up or how to level up your characters, how many encounters, but just kind of level them up whenever you want.
Yeah, I was going to say there's also bonus XP that can be awarded, whenever the DM feels like.
It was really funny to read because I was like, oh, really? I should do that? Just level them up whenever I want? Gee, thanks, book. I couldn't have thought of that by myself. I get that it needs to be written in. I get it.
There's some sticklers, yeah.
But in the same token, too, I was like, I think you could have take out the complication in the defense and stick it here in the level up process. I think this is more where it needed to have a little extra oomph. But it is what it is. I mean, it's pretty basic, the easy encounters to the very difficult encounters and the spectrum in between them, granting you levels of experience per those encounters and so many of those encounters to make up the adventuring day kind of thing, right? So
yeah. You can get, like I said, you can get extra bonus XP for, maybe you didn't fight that fight. You talked your way out of it, and there we go. You may as well get the XP from that fight because you did essentially fulfill the combat or the encounter, right? Yeah,
I always tracked it as encounter XP and quest XP. Even if it wasn't actually a quest, I counted it as quest XP, basically.
Oh, okay, yeah. Combat. So we have 3 actions again. In combat, we have a major, a movement, and a minor action.
Makes sense.
They are specifically listed as major, movement, and minor, so there's no bonus action, no regular action.
Nice and simple.
I did find one that was called a full action. Now, I couldn't find any powers that required it. It looked to be mostly spells that they were like a big spell that took all of your turn to
Got it.
cast.
Because you literally had to focus everything you had in it.
Yeah, your full action, it took away all your actions. You
Makes
couldn't
sense.
move, you couldn't do anything. You
Your
just
spirit
stood
bombing.
You stood in place and you called forth the energy from the planet and you made that giant ass ball and you threw it at him.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Take that, Frieza.
That's right. Then resting now.
Yeah.
You can rest between combats. You can rest as many times as you want.
I
Short
saw
rest.
that too, and I was
Yeah.
like, I don't like that. I mean, it does leave the door open for like random encounters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's no different than any of the other
So-
ones, but I didn't like that it said in the book that the players can rest as much as they want. Like,
Yeah. In
didn't
their
like that.
adventuring day, a short rest in their adventuring day is 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Now, during this 15 minutes, you can use what is called rally power, and that recovers half of your HP and half of your anima.
Yeah.
Now, spellcasters, as far as I could tell, did not have this power.
Right. And they should have, and I didn't look too deeply into it, but they should have some ability to recover anima points instead.
They should. I couldn't find any. All I
Okay.
found was ones that were costing them anima.
Interesting.
So I don't know if it was a misprint or what, but
Maybe it was an oversight.
after my first playthrough with it, as rules as written, I would probably give my spellcasters the rally
Yeah.
power as well.
Yeah.
Because it can be used once per encounter and once per rest to recover half of your HP and anima. Now, you can take back-to-back rests, short rests, but each rest is 4 times longer than
Right.
the first one. And
Right.
if you rest again after that 1 hour, it is 4 times longer. So
Right.
it is another 4 hours.
It's eventually taking a
Yeah.
very long
It
time.
takes a long rest then. Speaking of long rest recovers everything.
Right. Just like every other long rest
all
and
of
every
your-
other
all
game.
of your anima, all of your HP. Yeah, it's
you're
all
having a snooze. Everyone's going to bed. You're
Yeah.
gonna post a watch. An 8
Yeah.
hour kit.
exactly. Now the neat thing I did see is that if the long rest is interrupted,
Mm-hmm.
you can. It says in the book that you can award, partial healing to it. Like if it was a half rest, say halfway through the rest, the players got interrupted, they had to go fight. You could award them half their HP regained,
Right.
or 3/4 or whatever it was. It didn't have to be all or nothing kind of thing, because as you're resting, it doesn't. And this is the gripe I have with D&D. It's an all or nothing, right?
Right.
You have to rest for the whole 8 hours or you get nothing.
For sure.
But I rested for 6.5 hours. You mean I get nothing for that?
Yep.
Nope, you get nothing.
That's it.
Come
That's
on.
it. Nice try. Thanks for playing. Right.
So
Yeah.
I think I would implement this into my campaign if I were doing it.
For sure.
If you rest for 6 hours, you get 3/4 of your HP back, because hey, it's fair.
It makes sense.
That's
You're a
one
nice
thing that
you're
I
a nice
really
DM.
liked
A lot of DMs are like, no, screw it. You didn't make that. You get nothing. Moving on. You get nothing. Good day, sir. Right?
Good day, sir. Yeah. And that's about it.
Yeah.
The rest of the book was dedicated to spells, powers.
I mean,
GM
it's
stuff.
that's 4th edition stuff, right? The powers
Yeah.
are ripped. It's ripped right out of 4th. Like I said earlier, it's a cool concept, but a lot of people hated it. A whole lot of people hated that idea.
I liked the powers idea. It
Yeah.
gives the
just
class
extra
personality,
I don't know.
and I think it feels like it avoids the 5e fighter is a better ranger than the 5e ranger is,
That's
right?
Yeah. When we're talking just pure numbers, math crunching, a fighter with a bow is better than the ranger with a bow. I mean, that might not be the case anymore, but it definitely was the case when Player's Handbook came out.
I think it's still the case.
It might still be the case. I haven't played a ranger in a while because I got burned when I was like, ooh, a ranger.
I don't think rangers get multiple attacks.
I don't. They might not.
And that's why the fighter
they
is.
do. I think they do get multiple attacks, but fighters get an additional attack.
Yeah.
Fighters eventually get 3, whereas the rangers cap out at 2, I believe.
Maybe that's what
right?
it is. Yeah.
And then
the
rogue
fighter
only gets 1, right? Like,
well, and the fighter gets their ability.
And they get all
score
their ability stuff. Yeah,
so
there's a lot
times.
of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that is. I mean, that was kind of the thing with when it was with 4th edition. We got to do one of these episodes on 4th edition, man. I like 4th. The thing with 4th was that you had those cards. And like I was saying earlier, is it allowed the fighter, instead of making 3 attacks with the longsword, could make a standard attack, a cleave attack, and then a rip or tear attack kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Like make a and it added additional flavor without really overpowering things, right?
Yeah.
And because the players had these actions, the monsters also had these actions, which then created action-oriented combat. And Matt Colville does a really good video on action-oriented combat. And those monsters are so much fun to play as a DM. Because it's not, the goblin walks in, strikes you with his little sword, he stabs you with the dagger. No, the goblin has an ability called come over here, and his buddy comes over and they start stabbing you 1,000,000 times a piece. Like, it's like all of this kind of stuff. The story builds itself when you have these pieces in front of you, right?
I do find 5e is a little bland like that.
Yeah, well, that's because they caught so much.
Yeah, they caught a lot of flack for this.
So much flack for it.
But they do. It is missing that. Okay, I go in and fight on a long fight. I can only think of so many different ways I swing my sword.
Exactly. And it leads to you burning out with your character.
It does.
Right? So,
because they don't become interesting from level 5 on, because they're not doing anything different.
Yeah, they just get stronger. And it's not a bad thing. I'm just saying it could be better. That's all I'm saying.
Yes. We like to rag on 5e.
That's right. That's right. I mean, I always got a comment about the artwork throughout the book. There's a lot of like black and white pencil drawings in it, which feels really old school. And I got to say, I really, really love that. That is, I love to see that in a fantasy RPG book.
It's multiple different artists too.
Lots of different artists,
which makes the artwork pop from page to page, because it's not always the same kind of picture coming up. Yeah, right. Some of them are not awesome.
Well, I was gonna say some of them is pretty stark. You can tell that there's different artists that are in there. Not to say that the drawings are bad, but it's just like one artist is a lot better than the next artist, kind of thing. You can see that. I also, something to call out too, the very first thing in the GM section is basically a paragraph on you should always say yes, right? Always say yes to what your players want to do when they're attempting things, because it'll make the most fun. And it doesn't really have anything about like there being consequences to the things that you want to do, because I like the concept of yes. I put that into action in my own games, but it's always yes and, right? Yeah. Can I go and do this? Yes. And you'll have to make a wisdom saving throw to see if you can see this thing down here, right? Like you got to do all of these things. Like you can do anything you want, but don't think that you're invincible. That's not how this works, right?
That's right. You cannot cartwheel up the straight rope.
I mean, you can try.
No, you can't.
You can try.
Yeah, you're going to be at a DC 35. You will never make it.
Maybe you, by some divine intervention, you're able to pull it off somehow. I don't know. If Rule of Cool exists in my games,
it does,
but it always comes with a price, right? And I think it would have been really important for them to have included that in that paragraph, which was always say yes, but ensure that this is met as well, right? So
yeah.
Otherwise, I mean, this is standard stuff. The whole DM guide, I really didn't even have any notes on it because it's just so boilerplate, right? Like if you were brand new to the game and you've never DM'd before, there's a lot of stuff in there that I think would be useful to you. But as a veteran DM and even somebody who's just DM'd a couple different games, I don't think you're finding a whole lot of stuff in this part that's beneficial to you.
No, I did see a couple sections on how settlements work and you know, taxes and stuff like that. Yeah,
there was some cool stuff in there. But
there were some neat things in there. It's not necessary. If you're going that far, you're going to need like a financial degree of some sort to...
If that's where you're going, it's time to grab Dungeons and Dragons, right? Like,
time
I mean,
to grab the big boys.
I think they could
get off your free game and get a real one.
Dude, for real. I think they could have cut the GM section down by half and just simplified the guts that are in there. We've talked about a lot of different games and their GM sections are pretty cut and dry. Like, here's the things you need to know as a GM to run this game. Read the player section plus this additional 20 pages and you're done, kind of thing, right? I don't know. I as I was reading through, I was like, nah, I don't think this is really. It's not even really. It's not interesting enough even to talk about it.
Yeah, so. Yeah.
The only thing interesting about it is that it's not interesting at all.
Yeah, the things that I did like in the GM section was that they gave you the tools and showed examples of how to build a monster from scratch. Like what kind of format you want, if they're coming in as like a grunt or a commander or whatnot, and that's all and again that comes with them.
That's all ripped straight out of Fourth again too, right? Like the skirmisher, the brute,
exactly.
Like,
and they also have how to build encounters from scratch and stuff like that. So it's a nice read for somebody just learning the ropes, and how to do it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean, right? Like, I mean, if going in, it's the same thing I could pull out of the 5th, the 4th, the 3rd, the 2nd DM guides, the Pathfinder DM guide, right? Yeah. Like all of the DM guides, they all have the same thing. Yeah, it's got this version's rules on how to balance things. That's what you would need to take away from this. But truth be told, the rest of it is stuff that you could even YouTube how to build an encounter.
Exactly.
There you go. You know what I mean? So pretty boilerplate. It is what it is. I don't know, Finn, that kind of covers the game itself, the specifics of it.
It's a neat little game. Again, I liked the monsters from scratch, the
that was
from
cool.
Scratch stuff. It's I agree that
you're a graph guy. Graphs and tables, man.
I like
that's
tables.
Like that gets you 100%.
It does, because it makes life easy for me. If
I don't like to think about stuff either.
I can roll 12 dice and I can have a monster in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
At the very end in the appendixes is a names table, and it's a list of like 100 different names for character name, like NPC names,
right?
City names, town names, stronghold names, stuff like that.
Villain names, war names.
Would be It's really nice to have that on hand in a book that you don't have to bring up a name generator and hit that. You can just quickly flip to the back of the book when the players are saying, we just met this NPC. What's his name? Hold on a sec. It's Albert.
Griffin. Starts at page 211. And it's not, you're not rolling on a table. It's literally a list of names.
It's a list. Yeah.
What I would do, I would print this off and I would scratch them out as I go. I would scratch the name out and I would write the date of the session so I could always go back to my notes and refer to it.
It would go in my notes as to what the NPC name was in case that NPC ever comes back.
As far as it goes for this game, I mean, this is something that I will be taking forward in my own stuff, right? There's a lot of cool stuff in here, right? Like,
there is.
Street names, Marble Street, East Unicorn Circus, Iron Street, Fenway.
Yeah, Fenway.
There's a lot of really cool stuff in the appendices, I guess.
Yeah.
And then it did include some generators and stuff in the very far back as well. There's some name generators. It includes Don John, and I was like, well done. I mean,
he dumped in the websites for the name generators for you. Yeah. The other thing I liked was the monster stat summary at the very
yeah.
end.
Yeah, yeah.
It's you got your monster level.
Yep.
And you can play this monster right off of that stat block.
Yep.
You don't have to build your monster. You don't have to do anything.
Nope.
You can just plop it down and roll
across.
off the stats straight across it. Yeah, that is slick.
Yeah, it is cool. A lot of this stuff was also in 4th edition.
Yeah.
I'd recommend flipping through the 4th edition monster manual is such a good read. Like, if you're looking for inspiration for monsters, because as I'm looking through the monsters of this game, I see the influence there. They were very, very smart with the monsters in 4th, and then like this game as well, right? Because each monster has a role, so it's helping you build the encounter, and then each monster has its own set of abilities. Some monsters are boring; they don't have a lot or any. But I mean, like, you have your boss monster and his like minions and the little army that he's got in there and how they're created. And these ones are the bodyguards. They're the big broody guys. This one's the guy who's calling the shots. He's the commander. You got the ones in the back that are the strikers. You've got the guys with the swords in the front like all of this stuff together.
Yeah, and it works together.
It just works really well. And like you said, pick up a handful of dice, roll it, boom, there's your encounter kind of thing, right?
Exactly.
Very cool.
Last thing of note, all in all, it's your standard D&D clone.
Yep.
There are some really interesting things in here, but honestly, there's not a lot that sets it up and above anything else we've covered on this show.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, but
it is.
I mean, they can't all be D&D and Pathfinder, right?
Exactly. And I mean, like, for me to jump straight off of that, yeah, it's a little milquetoast, like a little beige, right? But it's free. It doesn't cost you a penny.
It doesn't cost anything.
It's completely free. There's literally no downside here. You can pick it up, play it, try it out. If you don't like it, well, you didn't lose anything at all, right?
Exactly.
I really think that's the best thing that it's got going for it. Like you said, the D&D clone, you've got a clear, strong, minimalistic type game. That's a pretty easy. I would consider it a stepping stone into D&D, right? If I was introducing people into D&D and I was like, and I didn't want to overload them with rules, maybe they're a crew that just don't do, like the crew that you bring to board game night, and they don't want to hear the rules. They just want to play it. This is the type of game that I would need to play with them in order to get them into the concept of like, okay, here's how you roll a D20. Here's how this goes together, right?
Yeah.
It feels rules light. It's really not that bad. Like I said, 230 pages total, including the GM guide and the monsters guide, technically 100 pages for the player manual. Not bad. There's a lot of mechanics here, but they're dated, right? This is definitely, and it's not fair to say that because the game did come out quite a few years ago.
It came out in 2012, and I believe that was the tail end of 4th edition already.
That was the tail end of 4th edition already. I want to say fifth was...
Fifth hadn't come out yet, I don't think.
No, 5th was closer like 2014. I'm kind of grasping a little bit, but it would have been around there.
That's what I'm thinking.
Because I'm gonna search it out real quick.
And that would explain why this is 4th edition-esque.
Yeah, 2014. Right? 2014 was the 5th edition's basic rule set.
So then this came out in 2012, which would make it at the height of 4th edition.
Which makes sense why there's so much 4th edition influence into it. And like I said, there's a lot of dated mechanics in there. But like I said, I don't think that's fair to really hold it against it because considering the time frame that we're talking about, right?
It's got a lot of good mechanics in it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I did like the 4th edition influence because I like 4th edition. I'm one of those people. People are coming around on 4th edition, man. A lot of people hated it, but I think people are coming around because it's easier to like 4th edition when you don't have to play it and you can just kind of, cherry pick the stuff that you liked out of it, right?
Yeah.
So, I felt that the book was a little bit all over the place. There was a lot of jumping involved when you're trying to do stuff, right? As you're building your character, you jump to the weapons area, then you jump back, and then you look at your race, then you jump there, and then you jump back, and then you go here, and then you jump there, and you jump back. But I mean, again, not too crazy. Is a little light on magic items and world building, but again, you can customize your own stuff. There's like the bones are here, but it's doesn't really have a lot of it.
The bones are here. It just needs some more flesh.
Needs a little bit more. The Mongoose needs to grab this and turn it into something.
Oh, dude.
There's plenty to grow, but if this was my only tabletop RPG experience, I'm probably not going to have the best time of my life. There's a lot. There is a lot of games out there, so picking this up and spending a lot of time on it probably not going to get you that, oh, wow, that moment. This is that crazy thing that happened. I can't believe that the thing, right? You're probably not going to get that in this game just because it's just not there, right? You're probably better off leaning towards, if this is the type of experience you want, D&D 5e, Pathfinder 2e, or even going to the light side of the house, Dungeon Crawl Classics, something like that. Yeah. Probably a better use of it, but you cannot beat that price. And that is one of the best things about this game, in my opinion, is you have a full-fledged usable game here for players and GMs completely for free. Zero cost.
Yeah. $0.
So, I mean, yeah.
It's worth a pickup, worth a read.
Definitely.
If it's not your cup of tea, delete it.
Yeah, no harm, no foul.
That's right. And with that, I believe that's it.
That's gonna put the book down. Heroes Against Darkness, as it was referred to.
Yeah.
In many, I was like, what's a had? But yeah, it's the name of the game. So.
Heroes Against Darkness by Justin Halliday.
Justin Halliday.
Yeah.
Time for the post pod.
Post
pod.
We got to get a jingle or something.
I got to get some kind of jingle. I'll create something. We'll come up with something that'll be good to go.
Man, we are losing it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, our impromptu post-pod song gets better every time we do it, I guess.
It's slowly working its way there, yeah. Pretty soon we'll have to actually record it. And
that's right. Yeah, we'll come up with something good. What you got for us today, Finn?
So today we got what's the most memorable big bad evil guy, either in game that you've played against or something you've listened to, watched to, read, whatever.
Oh man, that dude. That one's hefty.
Yeah.
That one's a lot.
So I'll give you a hot minute to think. Yeah. I got mine.
Throw me down.
Mine is our first in-person D&D with the Spider Queen.
The spider. That was
on
great.
top of the web in the lair, and our DM was phenomenal. He 3D printed a Spider Queen with a detachable thorax.
Yeah,
like it was cool.
It was cool, like phases.
Yeah, and the whole fight was just on your toes. I don't think I sat down the entire fight. It was intense. And especially really with good. That being over top of a chasm, fighting on top of a web, there's a chance, like if somebody hit a fireball on that web's gonna burn. We're all dead. We're all falling. And
right.
It was that was probably one of my most memorable big bads.
That one was insane. I did really enjoy that. I'm finding it incredibly difficult to pick like one, right? Because we've had so many. The fight against Zariel was really, really good.
Oh, yes.
As well, right? And I think it's because they're memorable because of the story more so than they're memorable for the actual bad guy, right? I don't mean to like toot my own horn, but I gotta say the guy I created, Benson, as our big bad evil guy in the one that I had written, because I had wrote him as like the literal worst evil thing that you could, like, the guy commits patricide. He's just a bad guy. And I mean, I don't know if I would call that the most memorable. And if you're expanding it out into like books and video games, like that's like an endless amount. I would say like the end boss of Final Fantasy IV, Zeramis.
Okay, yeah.
That's an insane fight. That was like, and the build up to it, it was very good. Everything about that, fantastic. And I mean, and I look at stuff like that, and that's how I create the bad guys of my campaigns and stuff like that, right?
Right. Yeah. Okay.
The I won't say any spoilers, but like the end fight of season 1 of Tale of Manticore, that was really, really good too.
That was
right. Like for me, the memorable components don't come from the bad guy, but they come from the build up of it, like that character's arc. Into the final battle of it, right? I would agree. I would 100% agree about the spider bad guy as well from that campaign. That one was really, really good too. We've had a lot of really good ones. Yeah. We've had a lot. The end boss in Baldur's Gate 2 was also great. John Irenicus.
Yeah, Irenicus.
Also really good too.
Yeah. That was a good one. That was
great.
A long build.
That was long.
That was like 2 years.
But again, it's the same thing too. You know what I mean? Like just like that character arc and like everything that goes into it, like phenomenal. And then you're left with that kind of lasting impression of like how amazing that was. And you talk about it again afterwards. You know what I mean?
It also helped that Irenicus had the best voice actor ever.
100%. Oh yeah, dude.
That was good.
Absolutely.
It was on point. It was perfect.
Yeah, it was great. So I don't know. I know I didn't really answer the question, but that would be
this is more of a discussion than a question.
For sure. That's gonna do it for episode 11. I want to thank each and every one of you personally for choosing to download and listen to this episode. Of course, there has been 10 episodes before this one. If you haven't listened to them, we would absolutely invite you to check out the back catalog. You can find the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. The YouTube channel is youtube.com/@DadGamingOnline. You can also find on that same channel and on twitch.tv/DGOnline me streaming our Dungeons and Dragons games. We do that every single Sunday night. And we typically stream Pathfinder 2, but we're taking a slight break on that one.
Slight hiatus on that.
Be coming back likely in the summertime 2025. So do stay tuned for that. Meanwhile,
you can email us. We got an email.
We have an email. I'd love to hear from any of you. Email. Gonna write an email.
It's at mastersofpenandpaper@gmail.com. So please send us any systems you know of that we think would be really cool for us to dig deep into. Some experiences of yours.
Yeah.
Just some
Tell us
cool
your
stories. Yeah. We want to hear things. Mm-hmm. Dice. Please.
Dice. Yeah. Pictures of dice. The other thing is if you want to communicate with us, you can also find us in our Discord server, and we will post that link in the doobly-doo, the comments. Not the comments. We'll post that in the description box below. Join the Discord and come chat with us. And we have a channel dedicated to tabletop RPG and various discussions about the
various discussions of everything, because our community is cool.
Our community is really good, and there's lots of like-minded individuals in there that would love nothing more than to nerd talk with you and us.
And we would love to nerd talk with you.
Absolutely. I'm all in on that one.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's all for another episode. I'll thank you one last time, and we'll see you on the next one. Episode 12 coming at you.
Thanks for listening.
Have a great one.